What happens if you give regression powers to a lowly skeleton? Find out in today's recap. The skeleton soldier, once a guardian, found himself fading away, unable to shield his owner, a wounded succubus named Rubia, lying beside him. As a soldier beheaded him, his skull rolled toward Rubia's lifeless form. He longed for more strength and a chance to rewrite his fate. The skull tumbled on, unexpectedly biting a soldier's foot before meeting its demise under a crushing blow. Darkness enveloped the scene as Rubia's life force diminished to 94.8% assimilation rate. The skeleton soldier pondered his failure, yearning for rest, when a booming noise interrupted his thoughts. Abruptly, he awoke within a coffin, nestled within a mysterious forest. Gradually, he recognized the surroundings. A blue status window popped up, declaring the completion of an inheritance process that transformed him into a level 1 skeleton. Remarkably, his attributes equaled those of a level 36 warrior, yet he lacked a name. Amid his musings, a voice broke the silence. Rubia, the same woman who had transformed him into a skeleton soldier 2 decades ago. Transported back to the time when his skeletal existence began, he anticipated Rubia's impending doom at the hands of bandits. His loyalty to his departed master compelled him to act. Determined, he carried Rubia to safety, resonating with the belief that without her protection, existence held no purpose. A scenario window unfolded, unveiling details about Rubia. Just as 2 horsemen drew near, the duo concealed themselves. One wielded a crossbow, the other a mighty hammer. The skeleton, now nameless, recognized them as mercenaries, not random bandits. After the horsemen passed, Rubia began recounting her identity, until a bolt from the crossbowman silenced her. Swiftly the hammer-wielding foe advanced, only to meet a rock hurled by the skeleton. Yet the skirmish proved fatal for the skeleton, a resounding blow to the skull ending his struggle. Another awakening within the coffin brought him face to face with Rubia once more. Despite his bewilderment, he retained his memories. A window materialized, granting him the choice of a bonus with necromancers or enhanced resistance. Opting for the latter, he instructed Rubia to hide from the impending mercenaries. Curiosity arose as Rubia questioned how he possessed speech and foreknowledge. He requested her dagger and vowed to safeguard her. As the mercenaries approached, the skeleton seized an opportunity, vanquishing the unsuspecting crossbowman and attaining a level up. Yet the hammer's crushing blow proved overwhelming, leading to another demise. Undeterred, the skeleton reawakened within the coffin, enhancing his agility with the points earned from his earlier feat. He managed to triumph over the hammer-wielder, only to meet his end at the crossbowman's hands once more. Persistence paid off in his 4th attempt, as he eliminated both mercenaries, safeguarding Rubia at last. Before we continue, take a moment to answer the question of the day. What is your favourite fantasy creature? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out. Now back to the recap. Within a cave, the skeleton soldier and Rubia sought refuge. Internally, he reviewed his predicament with each revival. Although he reverted to level 1 upon death, his skills and attributes remained intact. His courage and resilience rewarded him with newfound abilities, shaped by divergent experiences in past lives. However, he's uncertain about how many more times he can bring Rubia back to life. Rubia notices his distracted state and explains her background. She tells him that she's the daughter of Lord Ray, a principled man who opposed the new changes enforced by the recently crowned warmongering king. Unfortunately, Lord Ray was assassinated, leaving Rubia an orphan. No Name recalls hearing that the king plans to start a huge war lasting 9 years to bring all the lands under his rule. Furthermore, rumors suggest that the 16 devils will return. No Name realizes he lacks the power to prevent the war, but is determined to protect Rubia, who's caught in the middle. He knows he must become stronger to fulfill this duty, and to one day meet his mentor. They both agree to find a village and then venture into the mountains. Rubia tries to play around, but No Name reminds her that skeletons usually lack emotions. As they head towards Ublam, Rubia suggests buying armor to hide No Name's true nature and avoid frightening humans. Along the way, Rubia's life is saved by No Name when she nearly slips to her death. This strengthens their bond, and they finally reach Ublam. Rubia decides to enter the town alone to prevent causing panic. She promises to return soon, leaving No Name outside to wait patiently for 3 days. He wonders about her safety. On the 3rd day, an old man emerges from the castle, triggering memories of his time with Rubia. Approaching her lifeless body, No Name regrets his failure to protect her. As he mourns, 2 men approach. They reveal that Rubia was captured and committed suicide before they could sell her. No Name takes one of the men down but spares the other when he learns about Rubia's fate. he realizes the innkeeper handed Rubia over to the guards, who are connected to the Necron Society, a group that enslaves girls. Determined to uncover the truth, No Name dons purple plate armor, determined not to lose anyone else. He ventures into the charnel spirit dungeon, confronting skeletons and even a powerful boss. No Name levels up and receives a new quest to improve his swordsmanship. He decides to use the vacant dungeon as his training ground. Outside the dungeon, a portly knight arrives with two women, one red-headed and another blonde. No Name continues practicing his swordsmanship. The knight flaunts his wealth to the women, with the blonde, named Rena, planning to rob him. However, an alert window warns No Name of intruders, interrupting the scene. The story continues with Rena leading the knight on, hinting at a twist in their encounter. The fiery-haired adventurer, known for her daring escapades, eagerly suggests that it's Rena's turn to take the lead and gather information. Rena, feeling quite annoyed by the idea, is not too thrilled about it. Meanwhile, the knight, who stands between the two, attempts to mediate the disagreement. Deep down, he wishes the dungeon had tougher opponents than the feeble skeletons they've encountered so far. He yearns for a mighty boss battle, hoping it would help him display his heroic prowess and impress both of the women. As the argument unfolds, the two women point out that they should have stumbled upon skeletons by now. The knight casually brushes off their concern, though inside he too has been wondering about the lack of adversaries. Finally, they stumble upon the lifeless body of a boss and an army of soldier skeletons. Shock washes over the knight as he gazes at the defeated boss. Just as an aggravated Rena prepares to strike him from behind in frustration, their attention is diverted by the unexpected arrival of a fully armoured figure known as No Name. With a mix of curiosity and skepticism, the knight questions No Name, doubting the redhead's notion that this figure could be a monster. Rena, on the other hand, ponders if it might be another skeleton. No Name instructs them to depart, revealing that he has taken control of the dungeon. The knight, sensing the formidable power of his opponent, readily agrees that leaving might be the best course of action. However, tensions rise when Rena confronts No Name about his audacity to seize the dungeon and criticizes his etiquette for not removing his helmet. Rena demands that No Name surrender his loot or face the might of the knight. The knight, mesmerized by Rena's assertiveness, joins her plea and urges No Name to unveil his face. In the midst of this, Rena, the smirking redhead, playfully contemplates taking No Name's belongings as well. Suddenly, their astonishment reaches new heights as they discover that No Name is, in fact, a skeleton himself. Despite the revelation, the knight remains steadfast in his determination to prove his valor. Ignoring No Name's warnings and advice, he readies himself for a battle of epic proportions. With a fervent desire to showcase his combat skills, the knight aims a blow at No Name with his blessed morning star, but before he can strike, No Name swiftly slices off the knight's arms, leaving him writhing in pain. As the knight groans, Rena is both captivated and horrified by the display. Rena seizes the opportunity to make a hasty escape, fearing Rena's deadly intentions. Rena, fueled by rage, prepares to eliminate Rena with a well-aimed throwing blade. No Name, believing he is the intended target, gets ready to face Rena in combat. However, Rena pleads for mercy and reveals her affiliation with the Thieves Guild, a group skilled in assassination, theft, and gathering information. Rena confesses that Rena was her mark, explaining that she believes No Name cannot be tricked and that Rena was a threat. Intrigued, No Name questions Rena's motives for eliminating her colleague. Rena's response reveals her conviction that No Name is truly unbeatable and that she saw her as an obstacle. Despite the tensions, No Name refuses Rena's offer of services, initially uninterested in her proposition. However, a glimmer of realization crosses No Name's features as he recalls Rena's expertise in information gathering. He hesitates before finally asking her about the enigmatic Necron Society. Rena's eyes light up with enthusiasm, seizing the opportunity to share her knowledge. She agrees to disclose the coveted information, but with a condition hanging in the air, a condition. No Name hesitated, his hand hovering over his sword's hilt, uncertain about drawing it. Rena, on the other hand, shared a different perspective. She explained that it wouldn't be easy for him to extract the information she held, unless he had connections with the guild. Moreover, she emphasized that the guild wouldn't cooperate with someone like him, a skeleton. This suggested that if he were to harm her, the chance of obtaining the vital information would vanish. With a careful motion, No Name returned his sword to its sheath. Rena then made a proposal, her voice carrying a hint of desperation. She revealed that her condition for cooperation was for him to make her his ally. A prompt materialized in front of them, detailing a quest window. It outlined the potential benefits and risks of appointing Rayna as the branch manager of the TNT Guild. No Name pondered over the perplexing nature of these windows, unsure of their significance or the idea of assimilation percentage. Despite his confusion, the need for information compelled him to proceed. Rayna persisted in her attempts to persuade No Name, suggesting that she could aid in his training. She continued by drawing attention to her own capabilities, demonstrating her prowess by effortlessly defeating another human. No Name's hesitation was clear, driven by a reluctance to be betrayed. Rayna's voice grew more urgent as she proclaimed her similarities to him. She revealed the harsh reality she faced, that humans only saw her for her outward appearance and not her true self. Drawing a parallel, she likened this to how others perceived No Name as a monstrous entity that needed to be vanquished. This revelation seemed to bridge a connection between them. Expanding on her explanation, Rayna disclosed the intricate web of the Necron Society, a vast, shadowy syndicate involved in various illegal activities. These ranged from drugs to contract killings and human trafficking, all backed by powerful figures in the Empire. The identity of the Society's leaders and their headquarters remained shrouded in secrecy, only accessible to high-ranking guild members. In a bold proposition, Rayna suggested a way to mutually benefit from their alliance. She offered to bring her targets to No Name's dungeon, allowing him to gain valuable experience points while advancing her position within the guild. After some deliberation, No Name reluctantly agreed, sealing the deal. However, their momentary peace was disrupted by an alert. Notifying them of intruders in the dungeon, No Name swiftly dispatched 2 of the intruders, while Rayna skillfully eliminated another. Just as victory seemed certain, the 3rd intruder overpowered Rayna, threatening her life. Acting swiftly, No Name intervened, saving her and solidifying their partnership. As a result of this encounter, No Name's dungeon affinity increased to 19, and his swordsmanship skills advanced to level 4. Months went by, during which No Name continued honing his skills and accumulating experience. As time passed, his rate of progress began to slow, prompting him to contemplate relocating to a new dungeon. Rayna, however, shared in his accomplishments, revealing the spoils they had gathered from their endeavors. Her eagerness to eliminate humans for their crimes made No Name uneasy, but she argued that they were justified since the criminals evaded justice through corruption. Intrigued, No Name examined the possessions of the fallen criminals, stumbling upon a book titled The Unsightly Mage. The text criticized mages for their privilege and lack of accountability, piquing his curiosity about the author's intentions. Uttering the author's name, Kevin Ashton unexpectedly raised his wisdom, leaving him baffled. As he delved into another book by the same author, his wisdom increased once more. Amid his studies, Rayna drew closer to No Name, observing his actions. She offered to retrieve more books from the nearby village, but No Name's focus shifted to dungeons. He inquired about the closest dungeons, discovering a range of classifications within a week's journey on foot. No Name calculated that moving from the current F-class dungeon to an E-class dungeon would be a logical progression. As No Name continued to mull over his options, he noticed Rayna had fallen asleep on his lap. Just as he was about to resume his training, a sudden wave of fatigue washed over him, causing him to doze off as well. Awakening to a blue window, he learned that he had spent 182 nights in the dungeon, and his dungeon affinity had reached 20%. The balance between his skeletal nature and his human experiences was shifting, raising concerns about the dungeon's influence on him. As No Name slowly opens his eyes, a soft light greets his gaze, revealing the figure of his once departed friend, Mr. Succubus. With a gentle smile, the spectral form inquires about No Name's dreams, apologizing for the interruption. Startled yet curious, No Name leaps to his feet, only to realize that he lacks his protective armor. The ethereal succubus wraps her arms around him, suggesting that his slumber was disturbed by a nightmare. Looking around, No Name's worry fades, and he contemplates a life of contentment within the dungeon. As he gets pulled deeper into the illusion, Rayna awakens in her own space, her eyes scanning the emptiness. Puzzled by No Name's absence, she wonders where he might have gone. Meanwhile, No Name remains ensnared in his visions, resting his head on Succubus's lap while she reads to him. Slowly, the surrealness of his situation leads him to question the reality he once knew, finding solace in the presence of his spectral companions. Wrapped up in the story, No Name becomes aware of Succubus's existence beside him. He finds himself relieved to see her, reaffirming his connection to her. Noticing his unease, Succubus closes the book and inquires about the tale's excitement. She encourages No Name to share his dream, nudging him to reveal his thoughts about Rayna and the life beyond the dungeon walls. Rayna stretches, her eyes scanning her surroundings. Alarmed by No Name's absence, she begins to sense a looming danger. In the distance, she spots troops gathering, led by an officer rallying them with fervor. Their mission, to conquer the very dungeon they inhabit. Despite its reputation as a place of training, it has turned into a site of inexplicable disappearances. The Blue Lion Templars have been dispatched to quell the supposed threat. Back in the realm of illusion, Succubus comments on Reyna's resilience, drawing No Name's attention. The question of whether he will stand by and allow Reyna's peril troubles him deeply, echoing the moment he left her in the past. A sudden alert breaks his contemplation, reminding him of Succubus's past demise. Determined not to let history repeat itself, No Name vows to protect Reyna from harm's way. Reyna approaches No Name, urgently warning him of the imminent danger. However, No Name's fixation on his perceived mission leads him to draw his sword, his mind consumed by the illusion. A concerned Reyna dodges his erratic strikes, struggling to reach the true No Name within the ensnared facade. A scout's warning shot interrupts their struggle, and soldiers converge on Reyna, branding her a witch and No Name a monstrous threat. Observing No Name's uncharacteristic behavior, Reyna pleads for him to snap out of the trance, her voice echoing with desperation. Lost in his delusion, No Name confides in Succubus about the approaching onslaught, reiterating his determination to defend her. Yet a voice from the past materializes before him, Rubia, accusing him of forsaking her and breaking his promises. Succubus too voices her disappointment, blaming his perceived weakness for their shared fate. As No Name sinks further into despair, outside the dungeon, a scout alerts the Blue Lion Templar of their target's location. In the depths of his illusion, No Name yearns for strength, wishing he could alter his fate. Within the dungeon, Reyna takes evasive action, concealing herself from the soldiers' attacks. Seeing No Name's plight, she devises a plan, using a bomb to obscure their escape. Swiftly she secures No Name with a rope, intending to lead their pursuers deeper into the labyrinth. However, their escape is thwarted when soldiers close in, their leader accusing Reyna of heinous crimes and promising a trial. Despite her protests, No Name remains entranced, his consciousness consumed by his self-imposed mission. In the midst of chaos, a poignant realization dawns on No Name. This surreal realm is not the afterlife, but an illusion. Determined to break free, he resolves to become stronger, a protector for Succubus, Rubia, and all those he holds dear. 20 years into this envisioned future, No Name has transformed into a resilient skeleton warrior, devoted to safeguarding his mistress and all others. No Name awakens from his trance to find Reyna injured, a testament to her sacrifice to shield him from the soldiers' onslaught. As she jests about receiving his gratitude in case they survive, No Name gently lifts her, a newfound determination burning in his eyes. The commander, witnessing their defiance, berates his troops for failing to capture Reyna alive. As he orders No Name to surrender, Reyna ignites a fuse, setting off a stockpile of poisonous smoke. With the explosive display as her parting gift, Reyna implores No Name to carry her to safety. No Name charges forward, his blade cutting down any opposition in their path. In the midst of the chaos, Reyna explains her actions, revealing the toxic smoke as a last resort. With each step, No Name's determination deepens, fueled by his desire to protect Succubus, Rubia, and now Reyna. Their escape is fraught with danger, yet his resolve remains unshaken. As they navigate the treacherous path, Reyna's voice guides him, a beacon of reason amidst the turmoil. In spite of the large number of soldiers surrounding them, she confidently declares her allegiance to him. This causes No Name to secretly regret being trapped in this illusion. As they make their way out of the dungeon, No Name feels a sense of relief upon not spotting any additional soldiers. He plans to remove the arrows from Reyna's back and then seek further treatment elsewhere. However, their departure is disrupted by the sudden appearance of the Blue Lion Templar. This imposing figure claims that the reports about Reyna being a powerful necromancer were exaggerated. In a swift and unexpected attack, the Templar strikes No Name down, severing his arm. The Templar's eyes hold contempt as he questions the purpose of capturing someone as seemingly insignificant as Reyna. The Lord tries to explain his belief in her power, only to be silenced by the Templar's intimidating gaze. As the Templar moves to depart, No Name's resolve is reignited. He rises again, surprised by the Templar's seemingly supernatural abilities that allowed him to strike without being noticed. No Name realizes that this opponent is on a whole different level from any he has faced before. Despite his doubts, he decides to fight, especially after seeing Reyna wounded. No Name's attack is evaded by the agile Templar, who taunts him. The Lord adds insult to injury, berating No Name's audacity. Soldiers emerge as tension mounts, but before any further action can unfold, an alarming rumble shakes the area. An alert window pops up, explaining that the higher-level Blue Lion Templar has employed an advanced skill, immobilizing everyone in the vicinity, including No Name. Caught in this restricted mobility, No Name watches helplessly as the Templar approaches Reyna. Unconscious and defenseless, She appears far from the powerful necromancer she was rumoured to be. The Templar contemplates ending her life for his gain. No Name's determination pushes him to make a move, but his attack is avoided once again, and his sword shattered. The Templar recognizes the partial accuracy of the reports and delivers a fatal blow to No Name. As darkness descends, No Name's thoughts drift to Rayna and his perceived failure to protect her. The prospect of reuniting with Rubia brings him comfort. However, he awakens in the dungeon, confusion clouding his mind. Rayna rests on his lap, and a status window reveals that he has inherited new skills and powers, now possessing the abilities of a level 70 warrior. Despite his renewed strength, No Name ponders his uncertain future and the possibility of seeing Rubia again. The reminder of his multiple deaths prompts a memorial window to appear, granting him an upgraded status as a necromancer's lover. Determined to repay Rayna for her sacrifice, No Name resolves to escape the dungeon. He awakens Rayna and explains their urgent need to leave, aware that his affinity is growing and the subjugation forces could soon arrive. Initially planning to head to the arid underground cemetery, they opt for the ruins of Spider's Vault upon Rayna's suggestion. The cemetery has inexplicably become barren of monsters. As they continue their escape, No Name inquires about the Blue Lion Templars. Rayna provides insight into their role and leadership, describing the Marquis Vatian von Leandro as a formidable swordsman, unmatched in the Empire. No one recognized the warrior right away. He was the one who had defeated the evil creature before, and people wondered why he was in this faraway place without his fellow knights. Rayna spoke up, suggesting they go to a nearby town for supplies before facing the next challenge. She also wanted to take a bath. No Name hadn't thought about her needs, but he agreed. At dawn, they arrived at the largest town nearby, where something terrible had happened to someone named Rubia. No Name decided to go with Rayna into the town. Worried about being noticed, Rayna put a cloak on him, and they pretended to be a married couple to enter the town. Inside, they felt something strange in the air, and saw people acting oddly. As they looked for a place to stay, a mysterious figure watched them from an alley. Eventually, they found an inn, and a friendly barmaid welcomed them. Rayna asked for food and a place to rest. No Name noticed that the barmaid didn't have the same tattoo as the old innkeeper. The next day, well rested, they went to the general store. No one tried to sneak up on them, but they sensed someone following. The shopkeeper refused to sell certain things to Rayna, making her mad. No Name pulled her out of the store, and they managed to confront the person following them, who turned out to be the town's blacksmith. He warned them about the dangers of staying in the town for too long. At the blacksmith's shop, they learned about a place called Spider's Vault, and how the lord of the town and his guards were raising dangerous spiders. The town was suffering because of addiction and cruelty. The blacksmith encouraged No Name to seek revenge, and gave them a special flame that could burn without stopping. They were tasked with saving the prisoners and stopping the guards. Rayna received a powerful flame weapon. With Rayna wielding the weapon, they entered the dungeon, noticing its eerie quietness and complex layout. Rayna asked about Rubia, but No Name brushed it off, saying she wasn't that important to him. Rayna gave him a pendant, a special item for her, before they were attacked by a giant spider. Rayna quickly sounded the alarm when she spotted danger, but suddenly a sticky web snared her, lifting her off the ground. A spider attacked, but No Name came to the rescue. He swung his sharp blade and chopped off one of the spider's legs. However, another spider surprised him from behind, pinning him down. As No Name struggled to fend off the second spider, Rayna cried out for help. No Name managed to grab his sword again and defeated the second spider. He bravely stood up, facing a whole group of approaching creatures. Hanging upside down, Rayna realized the seriousness of the situation. More spiders were getting closer to her. Meanwhile, No Name kept fighting the spiders on the ground, using his sword to block their attacks and dodge their strikes. But suddenly several spiders shot sticky webs at him, trapping him in place. Just when it seemed like No Name was in trouble, Rayna appeared with a flamethrower. She quickly set the spiders on fire, saving No Name. Impressed by her weapon, No Name and Rayna fought off the remaining spiders. The spiders retreated deeper into the dungeon. As they continued their journey, a notification appeared, showing that No Name was gaining experience from the battle. Rayna playfully teased No Name about this discovery. However, their triumph was short-lived as Rayna suddenly collapsed. No Name realized she had been bitten and needed an antidote. Deep within the dungeon, soldiers attempted to fight off the Spider Queen boss. No Name wondered why they would raise such monsters and assumed they must have antidotes. The captain of the guards, recognizable by his snake tattoo, warned the Spider Queen to behave or her eggs would be destroyed. Angry and remembering Rubia, No Name confronted the captain, holding a fellow soldier hostage. He demanded the antidote in exchange for sparing the captain's life and the lives of his men. The captain didn't take No Name seriously and taunted him. No Name's rage boiled over and he attacked, but the Spider Queen impaled him with her sharp legs. The captain explained that the Spider Queen was believed to be a chimera, created and abandoned by mages. She fiercely protected her eggs. As the captain was about to leave, the Spider Queen suddenly burst into flames. No Name, now helmetless, reappeared with the flamethrower and confronted the captain. Using powder, No Name unleashed flames on the captain's men. The spiders were no match for No Name's determination and Rena's fiery weapon. As they moved closer to him, the soldiers' eggs and anything that could catch fire started to burn. No Name, full of fury, approached the burning captain who pleaded for his life, but the flames consumed him, leaving him nothing but ashes. Without pause, No Name continued his fiery rampage, burning everything in sight. He didn't notice Rena or the fact that his own body was melting until he fell down and met his end. His assimilation rate dropped to 90.14% as darkness enveloped him. No Name found himself resurrected in a dungeon next to Rena. A blue window confirmed the completion of the inheritance and analysed his previous demise. Just as Rena woke up, he told her about their impending journey to a place called Yublam. He knew what was going to happen, and he repeated the events that had occurred before. They went back to the town, where Rena argued with a shopkeeper, and they followed a surprised blacksmith to his forge. They received a vial of something called Grasmir's Flame, a flamethrower, and heat-resistant powder. No Name decided to use this powder and flamethrower combo to his advantage. He tossed the bag of powder at the blacksmith's face and threatened to set him ablaze with the flamethrower. The blacksmith was terrified. No Name realized the powder protected him from feeling the heat, but his armor would still melt. He questioned the blacksmith's motive for wanting them dead as well. The blacksmith saw through No Name's non-human movements and preferred his demise, especially after burning the guards. Rena was furious, but No Name didn't see a point in killing the blacksmith. He left, taking a new sturdy two-handed sword with him, a payment for the threat. Armed with the sword and flamethrower, No Name and Rena headed to the ruins of Spider's vault. They both knew the flamethrower was powerful but dangerous. Remembering how she had been hurt before, No Name knocked Rena out to keep her safe. He ventured into the dungeon alone, promising to return quickly. No Name carefully used Grasmir's flame to burn his way through the dungeon. He was soon met by a confused captain and his guards. The captain tried to deceive No Name, claiming they would lead him to safety. He attempted to throw a vial of spider egg yolk at No Name again, but No Name shattered it with his sword. The captain, surprised, asked who No Name was. The skeleton replied with a promise of a painful death, and a fiery battle ensued. No Name's flames engulfed the guards, but the captain managed to escape. The captain attacked No Name from behind, breaking the flamethrower. He revealed that the Spider Queen was furious over her eggs being broken. He took the last egg as a hostage and commanded the Queen to attack. No Name blocked the attacks but was eventually thrown across the cavern. In the midst of this battle, No Name's helmet shattered, but he spotted the broken flamethrower nearby. With a plan forming, he faced the Spider Queen and fought back fiercely, her limbs falling one by one until he finally struck her down with his flaming sword. As the skeleton stood victorious over the spider's corpse, the captain, astonished, tried to attack from behind. No Name swiftly cut off the captain's sword hand, promising his impending agonizing death once again. In panic, the captain ordered his men and the spiders to attack, only to realize they were all defeated. Running away from the fearsome foe known as No Name, the captain of the group stumbled backward and tumbled off a ledge, meeting his unfortunate end. No Name shook his head at this rather silly way to meet one's demise. He pondered the danger of the sword he carried, and deeming it too risky, heaved it over the edge. Just as he turned around, a surprising sight awaited him. The Spider Queen, injured but standing tall. No Name found himself trapped between the wounded Spider Queen and a towering cliff. With no weapons to defend himself, he froze in place. To his amazement, the Queen gently cradled her last remaining egg before her life slipped away, leaving behind a radiant red jewel. A notification window appeared, announcing No Name's victory over the web-slinger, rewarding him with precious soldier points, kick-starting an adventure quest, and granting him a swift skill and a sparkling ruby gem. Emerging victorious from the cave, No Name clutched a bag filled with gleaming treasures. His triumph was short-lived, as Rena, still recovering from being knocked out, stormed over. Her scolding expression quickly transformed into awe as No Name presented her with the bag of gold. Determined to improve, she vowed not to be a burden and begged him not to leave her behind again. Guiding him to her guild's branch office, she expressed her gratitude. Time passed and the duo arrived at an orphanage. Excitement filled the air as Reina introduced No Name to the children, including her sister. Warmly welcomed by the headmaster, they stepped inside. The director, observant and perceptive, encouraged No Name to shed his armor, assuring him that his true self was accepted. Suddenly, a child's cries pierced the air. Racing to the courtyard, they discovered two men and a woman trying to forcibly take a child back. It was revealed that the child had escaped from their nearby village's orphanage, seeking refuge from mistreatment. The director's negotiation skills came into play, exposing the dark motives behind the visitors' actions. The woman proposed a sinister deal, only to be met with the director's stern rejection. The situation escalated as the men attacked the director, but their efforts were met with shock and disbelief as the director revealed his unique nature. He was made of slime. In a surprising turn of events, slime engulfed the antagonists, leaving them in a state of bewilderment and regret. Slime introduced himself as the manager of the T&T Guild's Eastern Branch office. Amidst the clothes and weapons left behind by the defeated intruders, the director, a unique and clever creature, introduces himself to No Name. He reveals that he is a type of slime, a fellow non-human trying to find a place in the human world. No Name is amazed to encounter an intelligent slime and questions Slime about how he plans to handle the consequences of his actions. While they talk, Slime comforts a scared child whom the intruders intended to capture. Slime confidently assures that cleaning up the mess won't be a problem, which makes the skeleton nervous but pleases Reina, the girl they rescued. Back inside their shelter, Slime explains that he runs an orphanage because slimes don't have traditional family structures like humans. He's fascinated by how humans look so different as they grow up. Slime shares that his kind can take on any form, as they're shapeshifters. He even offers to transform into a skeleton, but No Name politely declines. No Name wonders how Slime knew he was a skeleton, and it turns out Slime is an excellent appraiser due to his unique abilities. In gratitude for helping Reina, Slime offers to appraise anything No Name desires. As a gesture of appreciation, No Name hands over a ruby gemstone to be appraised. The two discuss how Slime's presence didn't raise any suspicions with Reina, likely because she grew up with slimes in the orphanage. During the appraisal, a blue notification appears, revealing that the ruby can be used as an ingredient for a class change, along with its benefits. Slime points out the ruby's high value, earned from absorbing the essence of humans over time. Suddenly, another blue notification appears, showing that No Name's assimilation rate has dropped. Though visibly shaken, No Name brushes it off and compliments his slime skill. He asks if there's a spare sword he can use instead of the ruby, and Slime offers to fetch one from the blacksmith. Additionally, Slime offers to repair No Name's armor and provides a room for him to rest, an offer gratefully accepted. That night, No Name contemplates the ruby and the potential for a class change. Reina visits him and talks about her sister, explaining why she's not spending time with her. She gives No Name a golden pendant, a meaningful gift from her past, and expresses her hope for a future together. What will happen next? Find out next time by staying tuned for our future recaps. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great recaps.
Last time, our favorite skeleton continued on his adventure. The next day, No Name examines his repaired armor and new sword, appreciating Slime's help. Slime suggests that No Name join the TNMT Guild, explaining how it could benefit him with information and resources. Although tempted, No Name declines as he prefers independence. He plans to rely on Lena for information, making her blush. No Name then asks Slime what it takes for Lena to become an official guild member, and after hearing the requirements, he offers a bag of gold from the spider's vault. This generous act is enough to fulfill the conditions. As they discuss, a blue status window updates No Name's progress in the scenario. His assimilation rate has dropped further, causing concern. Slime begins to read the guild bylaws to Lena, but No Name stops them when the branch manager's duty to report threats to the Peace of Amber is mentioned. Amber is a special city near the sea, where many skilled people called engineers live and work. The city also has an important port. It's interesting how the city's name is connected to a big war that will happen soon. This war, called the 9 Years' War, will start because of a prince named Alton Clemens II. He belongs to the crown and wants to fight against a group called the Freedom Alliance. Even though Amber is not taking any sides, its unique way of doing things annoys the prince and his empire. The empire wants to grow bigger and stronger, and Amber is right in their way. It's like a big obstacle between the empire and the Freedom Alliance. So the empire decides to target Amber first. No Name, a curious skeleton, talks to Slime about why Amber is mentioned for a promotion. Slime explains that the guild, a special group, has its main place in Amber. This makes No Name wonder if Amber's position is a problem for the empire. Empire could be a serious danger. Slime agrees, but doesn't share more details. He just tells No Name that they are ready for anything the Empire might do. Meanwhile, Slime congratulates Lena for getting promoted. No Name then asks about the things Lena needed to do to become a branch manager. Slime finds this funny, but focuses on Lena's promotion, saying it's important for their plans. Slime talks about difficult tasks that Lena needs to handle. Even though she can't do them alone, if she succeeds, it will help her get promoted faster. Slime asks No Name if he will accept the commission. Suddenly, a blue window pops up, giving No Name the choice to accept or decline the tasks. A host stands amidst a bustling arena surrounded by excited crowds. With boundless energy, he addresses the eager spectators, heralding the start of the grand tournament. His voice reverberates through the roaring masses. The host then turns his attention to the tournament's first contestant, the formidable Jacob Isaac, known as the Dismantler, representing the Brass Ring Free Company. He introduces Jacob's opponent, Sierre Jagan, a first-time participant from a prominent household in Janai. It's No Name in disguise. As the two contestants prepare to enter the arena, anticipation fills the air. The host's voice booms, bidding them to ready themselves for the forthcoming battle. Jacob Isaac, armed with a colossal hammer, lunges forward, poised to strike a mighty blow upon his adversary, known as No Name. Days before this fateful match, a mysterious figure named Slime had approached No Name, explaining a peculiar request from a household in Janai. This affluent family, thriving in the leather business and commerce, lacked the time to train a knight to represent them in the tournament. Instead, they sought a mercenary to bear their crest, sparing them from the sponsor's pressure. The tournament's patron, the Lord of Aris from the Ray family and the younger brother of the deceased lord, had a vested interest in the event's outcome. No Name agreed to their terms, accepting payment for each victory until the 8th round. Eager to avoid drawing attention, he embarked on this quest alongside his enigmatic companion, Lena. During their journey, Lena's curiosity got the better of her, and she inquired about No Name's connection to Rubia, the deceased daughter of the household in Janai. No Name's response was enigmatic. He denied any significant bond with Rubia, but suggested that she might have been attractive. Lena pressed further, asking if No Name would have answered differently to a question posed in the orphanage. No Name responded with unwavering determination, stating that his purpose remained steadfast. Acknowledged by a disappointed Arena, the conversation was cut short as they approached the city of Arrest. A crowd gathered at the city gates, waiting to pass through. No Name and Lena approached a stand, where they intended to enroll No Name in the tournament as a knight for the House of Janai. When the enlister requested a name, No Name hesitated momentarily. Quick on her feet, Lena tried to provide a cover, but the skeleton intervened, introducing himself as Sierre Jagan. With an inquisitive enlister, No Name privately reflected on his chosen name, an amalgamation of two demon lords he had encountered during his time in the demon army. He recalled the fearsome disruptor Sierre and the savage bull Jagan, two of the 16 demon lords prophesied to descend upon mankind following the 9 Years' War. Lena, sensing No Name's unease, gently prodded him for his true name, a question she had deemed unimportant until now. No Name confessed that he didn't even know his real name. Lena offered to come up with a name for him, and the exchange continued as she suggested various names, much to the skeleton's chagrin. Amidst their conversation, a man's voice rang out, announcing the imminent commencement of the tournament. Participants would be provided with food and lodging in the castle, affording them the freedom to explore the castle grounds between matches. No Name, knowing that this was Rubia's home, seized the opportunity to inquire about the castle library's location. Once in the library, the librarian praised No Name's desire to learn and fight. She asked if there were any books by Kevin Ashton. No Name noticed the messy state of the place as he looked around. Just then, a book landed by his feet. Looking up, he saw an apparition of Rubia reading atop some stairs, but it was cut short when the librarian brought him to the novel by Kevin Ashton. The librarian then picked up the fallen book, lamenting that the person who read it was no longer there. This caught No Name's attention, and he inquired about it. Visibly scared at having said too much, the woman excused herself and quickly departed, leaving No Name alone. He opened the book and began reading it quickly until Lena found him. She had been assigned a room. A blue window popped up, informing him that he had increased his wisdom by 10 and could now sense other skeletons, having also earned a bonus of insight. Lena then stated that they should go, and when he looked at her, another window popped up, displaying her name, profession, level, stats, and a likability score of 40. No Name swung his sword until a blue window popped up with his stats. He noticed that his swordsmanship didn't get higher than level 5, and wondered about his inside bonus. As Lena approached him, informing him that the tournament would begin soon, fireworks lit up the sky. The Eris tournament began, and the The host asked for a round of applause as Lord Ray entered the arena. Lena and No Name looked on from afar. As the first round of the preliminaries began, the pair discussed whether the tournament's prize was worth the effort of the competitors. Lena pointed out that the real prize was the prestige the nobles gained from their night's success. Knights also benefited since it was their best opportunity to increase renown and raise their worth, especially for oathless knights who hoped to get noticed by the noble houses and taken into their employ. No Name was told to get ready for the next match, and though Arena encouraged him, the skeleton planned to avoid getting too much attention in the arena. The host explained that the round would last until either contestant was incapacitated or stepped out of the battle stage. No Name thought about the difficulty of throwing his opponent off the stage when Jacob Isaac berated him for his apparent weakness. Wishing to know his true strength, the skeleton uses his insight skill to see his stats as the fight begins. No Name, as he's known, uses his superior agility to dodge his opponent's attack and break his hammer, much to the latter's shock and disbelief. No Name offers the now disarmed Jacob to surrender, but the warrior lunges at him enraged and attempts to punch him. With no other choice, the skeleton dodges the punch and swiftly knocks his opponent unconscious with the pommel of his sword, causing everyone present to fall silent in shock. Prompted by No Name, the judge proclaims him the victor, and the crowd bursts into applause, much to the surprise of No Name and to the delight of Lena. Before we continue, take a moment to answer the question of the day. What is a good skill to have in another world? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out. Now, back to the recap. An insight window shows the stats of a level 17 fighter named Colin Harrod as he thrusts at No Name with a spear. No Name dodges the attack and knocks his opponent down. Later, the window displays the stats of a level 29 warrior named Jong Philip, who attempts to strike No Name with his chains. However, No Name catches them with his sword and pulls the warrior towards him, incapacitating him and causing the crowd to cheer again. Later, the skeleton praises the convenience of the insight skill for allowing him to gauge his opponent's strength and act accordingly. He wonders who Kevin Ashton might be, but snaps out of his thoughts as he notices Lena holding off 3 men who wish to see him. They introduce themselves as representatives of a merchant group and a noble family, asking No Name to work for them as their guard and competing to offer him a better payment. However, he refuses their offers, stating that he will not abandon the House of Ginny, much to Arena's surprise. As the men ask No Name to reconsider, a drunken swordsman yells at them to quiet down so he can sleep, claiming to be a participant of the tourney. He asks the guards to take care of them and escort them away. Lena then tells a shocked No Name that the drunk is his next opponent, causing No Name to wonder inwardly how a drunkard got into the quarterfinals. Activating Insight to check his stats, he is shocked as the Insight window is completely blank. He's even more puzzled when he tries again and gets the same result. In the arena, the host introduces No Name and his opponent as Thibault Reynolds, noting his incredible speed. Thibault asks the host for the restroom, but is denied since the fight is about to begin. No Name wonders why Insight doesn't work on this man as the fight begins. The skeleton decides to forego Insight and lunges at Thibault, prepared to strike. Needing to pee, Thibault laments the situation before swiftly dodging the attack and appearing behind No Name, promising to end the fight quickly and mentioning Imperial fencing. No Name barely manages to block the attack and is complimented by Thibault as the swordsman unleashes another attack. The skeleton then grimly realizes why Insight doesn't work on him. Thibault has a far higher level than himself. The pair continues to duel as No Name blocks the incoming attacks, much to Thibault's delight. The swordsman then parries the skeleton's sword and lunges at the gap in his armor, noting his lack of combat experience. But he is surprised as No Name closes the gap in time and somersaults to a safer position. No Name sensed a sudden tension in the air as the clash of blades rang through the arena. He had managed to avoid the swordsman's strike, but it didn't feel like a successful defense. The swordsman, whom he had heard referred to as Thibault, appeared to be a formidable opponent. As they circled each other, No Name couldn't help but wonder about the man he faced. Why was he here, and who was he really? Thibault's blade had grazed his ribs, a wound that would have been fatal for a human. It left No Name pondering the enigma that was Thibault. "Are you an Imperial fencer?" No Name finally asked, seeking some answers. Thibault, with a hint of amusement in his eyes, replied, "I used to be an Imperial Knight, boy." The swordsman's taunting words stung No Name. He couldn't deny that becoming an Imperial Knight was his ultimate goal, and here was a retired knight challenging his worthiness. Undeterred, Thibault pressed his attack, challenging No Name to strike. No Name blocked the blows, but doubts crept into his mind. Was Thibault right? Was he truly skilled enough to become an Imperial Knight? As the duel continued, No Name observed Thibault's fighting style. It seemed to be based on lunging, a technique that exposed him to side attacks. No Name seized the opportunity and struck Thibault from the side, cutting his arm. The crowd gasped in awe. Wounded but not defeated, Thibault stood tall. He decided to face No Name as a proper Imperial Knight, determined to test his mettle. On the sidelines, Reno wondered about the identity of this mysterious swordsman. Thibault, an oathless knight, informed her he's an Imperial Knight, marked by his sword technique. Thibault blocked No Name's attack and commented, "I'm better at blocking," before driving his sword into the ground. Then he unleashed a curved attack that caught No Name by surprise, sending him flying backward. Thibault promised to end the fight swiftly, but No Name raised his sword to counter. However, the curved attack pierced his neck, sending him crashing to the ground. Tablet approached to claim victory, believing the match was over. To everyone's astonishment, a panting No Name rose to his feet, refusing to give up. Thibault couldn't believe his eyes. Was No Name some kind of monster? No Name explained that he didn't aspire to become an Imperial Knight. He was after Marquis Vatien. He wouldn't be defeated by an Imperial sword art. Thibault was furious at the mention of that name and launched a relentless assault on No Name's armor. He vented his frustration, revealing his deep-seated resentment. No Name struggled under the barrage of blows, thinking he might lose the fight. But then, unexpectedly, Thibault dropped his sword and forfeited the match. No Name was declared the victor, leaving Thibault brooding and bitter. He muttered that the special requirement was blade energy, the very energy he lacked, preventing him from becoming a knight. With a heavy heart, Thibault left the arena without his sword. That night, as the semi-finalists gathered for a banquet, No Name and the Oathless Knight kept their helmets on, their identities hidden. The skeleton, still curious about the strength of his remaining opponents, checked their stats. Thibault had been the strongest in the tournament, but his lack of blade skills rendered his armor useless. At the head of the table, Lord Ray, surrounded by his formidable bodyguards, praised No Name's skill. He offered him the opportunity to serve under him, a chance to display his true worth. The other semi-finalists couldn't hide their surprise at this unexpected turn of events. He believes that seats are filled by those who deserve them, and that talentless people taking up space is frustrating. Despite the intense desire to confront Lord Ray right there for what he did to Rubia and her father, he wisely refrains from doing so. He knows that the guards would not hesitate to kill him. Frustration bubbles within him as Lord Ray gives him a No Name time to consider his offer. The Lord emphasizes that he might regret not answering immediately. Lord Ray has no interest in losers, making his disdain clear. He presses the issue further, asking the No Name if he would at least take off his helmet. Despite being displeased at the refusal, Lord Ray decides to overlook it. Recognizing the No Name's skill, he nods in acknowledgement of the Oathless Knight and refers to him as Chris the Bruiser. The No Name realizes that this is his next opponent and wonders about the enigmatic name. Lord Ray can hardly contain his excitement about their upcoming fight, emphasizing that he will see their faces, regardless of who emerges victorious. With a snap of his fingers, Lord Ray beckons 6 scantily clad women to enter the room, their presence intended to entertain his guests. While the other 2 semi-finalists enjoy themselves, Chris rises violently from his seat and exits the room abruptly. The No Name follows suit, his curiosity piqued by Chris's sudden departure. Outside, the Oathless Knight confronts the skeleton, questioning why he left and expressing his doubts about the existence of an Imperial knighthood in Janai. He finds it hard to believe that the House of Janai would hire knights in these peaceful times. Suspecting that the No Name bribed his way in, the skeleton, ever composed, points out that he seems to know quite a lot about knights. The Hellraiser raises an eyebrow, inquiring if the No Name aspires to be appointed as a knight in jest. Annoyed by the insinuation, the No Name questions Chris about his perpetually helmeted appearance. Chris's response is swift. He draws his sword and demands to know what the No Name knows about him. In response to this challenge, the No Name calmly states that he knows nothing. Chris sheathes his sword, but not before making a promise. He vows to crush the No Name's insolent attitude and his helmet on the next day in the arena. As the day of the semi-finals approaches, a lively crowd surrounds a man placing bets on the upcoming fights. She confidently wagers a bag of gold on the No Name. Surprisingly, she feels the presence of the skeleton behind her. Initially reluctant, she encourages the skeleton to win the fight. The moment arrives as the announcer presents Sarajagon and Chris the Hellraiser to the eager crowd. The No Name analyzes his strategy, staring down his opponent's formidable great sword. Chris issues a stern warning, reminding him that holding back in this fight could lead to his demise. As the fight commences, Chris lunges forward, aiming to deliver a decisive blow with his massive sword. The No Name, however, showcases his agility by gracefully dodging the attack. Seizing the opportunity, he strikes the Hellraiser's armor, planning to use his superior agility to secure victory. But Chris, displaying incredible resilience, retaliates swiftly, striking the arena floor and creating a cloud of dust. Using this distraction to his advantage, he stealthily moves behind the no-name, launching a powerful strike with all his might. The skeleton barely manages to deflect the blow, showcasing remarkable skill in the face of adversity. Commending his opponent's ability to dodge his attack, the Oathless Knight states that the no-name's fall is only a matter of time. Knowing dodging wouldn't work, no-name then decides to try something restless. He lunges towards Chris, delivering 2 blows at close quarters in quick succession. He shatters the knight's armor and sends his helmet flying. The crowd and the skeleton stare in shock as the knight is revealed to be a woman. The crowd stands in shock, and Lord Ray beckons his men as No-Name and Chris face each other in the arena. Enraged, the female warrior yells at the skeleton. Soldier, pointing out that women can't compete in the tournament, dismisses her. The woman then demands a chance to fight, and despite the soldier denying it, Lord Ray allows it as long as her opponent has no objections. With No-Name's consent, the fight resumes. Lord Ray muses to himself on how amusing the fight will be if accompanied by a woman's screams, and the crowd roars in outrage at Christina's deception, and also the money they'll lose for betting on her. Exhausted, Christina tells No-Name to stop holding back, and asks if it's due to her being a woman. Recalling past trauma, she desperately lunges at her opponent before tripping on the arena and falling to the ground, causing the crowd to roar in anger and throw rocks at her. Much to her dismay, Turin watches the spectacle. While on the ground, Christina recalls the merciless training her father gave her, wherein he threatened her to end their relationship if she failed to make the family better. He raged at the fact that she was a woman, much to her suffering. Noting the crowd's mockery, No-Name suggests that she holds back to avoid getting badly injured. But before he can finish the sentence, he is sent flying by a devastating strike, much to everyone's surprise. Christina is exhaling steam. Her eyes glow red as she stands on guard. A blue window pops up, informing No-Name that she has activated the Berserk skill, turning into a berserker with far higher stats. Christina screams in rage as she delivers another powerful blow that shatters the arena, which No-Name manages to evade while wondering about the reason for all this transformation. Seeing her berserker mode and the odds turning in her favor, the crowd's mood changes as they begin to cheer for Christina. No-Name thinks about her new strength and speed. The warrior darts at him and sends him flying across the arena, much to the crowd's rejoice, Lord Ray's interest, and Reno's concern. Contemplating how the situation has changed despite her being a lower level than himself, No-Name decides to act quickly. He uses his superior speed ability to knock her back and begins circling around her. The berserker counters this move by furiously swinging her sword in a wide circle, but it's in vain as the skeleton manages to jump clear and deliver a blow that splashes her back. This is not enough, however, as Christina roars and remains standing, while No-Name wonders about what kind of monster she has become. A blue window informs him that his speed ability has run out and must be recharged. He then notices that the Berserk ability drains her energy over time, and seeing this as an opportunity, he prepares to strike. However, he stops dead in his tracks as he sees Christina in tears as she asks for a chance to continue fighting, which reminds him of his first death with Lena, urging him to finish the fight. The skeleton then approaches the berserker, blade in hand. The flash is heard as everyone stares in shock. Christina stands visibly surprised as the host announces her victory over her opponent, who is laying on the arena. Lena approaches the fallen No-Name in distress and tries to wake him up, tearing up at the thought of losing him. She is startled as the skeleton rises, completely fine but with aching joints, and flustered ushers him away while Christina stares from the arena. In the forest, No-Name lost the competition, but it's unclear if he did it on purpose. Nearby, Reno is feeling pretty upset because she lost some money by betting on No-Name in that competition. She was really hoping he'd win, but then her mood suddenly changes, and she mentions something about them completing a mission. Christina, however, approaches them and asks No-Name for another fight. She thinks he let her win the last time because he knew she didn't have much energy left. No-Name, however, insists that he was just being reckless and lost fair and square, thanks to her sword skills. He encourages her to go win the upcoming tournament. When Christina asks if they'll meet again, No-Name replies that he doesn't know, but warns her to avoid staying in Erast if she wants to become a knight. Ironically, he also advises her not to wear a helmet before he and Lena depart. Back at the T&M-T orphanage, Slime gives them a commission for completing a request. He points out that things have gotten uncomfortable because No-Name's performance at the tournament has inspired many to seek to become knights for the Janai family. The branch manager asks the skeleton about the name Sierre, which he had mentioned earlier. He takes notes when No-Name says he thought it up on the spot. No-Name then asks for the next request, feeling a bit worried due to recent events. An heiress and a blue window pop up, asking him to confirm his choice. No-Name and Lena focus on dungeons for the next 3 months, avoiding the North Alpine region but exploring the mountains south of the Empire. They have all sorts of adventures, navigating the maze of poisonous branches, battling centaurs in the blood-stained equestrian quota, and fleeing from ghouls ghouls in the den of the dead. They earn more loot and upgrade No Name's armor with Slime's help. Meanwhile, the skeleton muses about the last dungeon, and Lena asks him to accompany her somewhere, which confuses him. Slime explains that Lena needs a second letter of recommendation besides his own to become a branch manager, and she can get it in the Eastern Division if she passes a simple test. However, No Name can't accompany her because the location of the guild executives is a secret from outsiders. No Name tells her to go ahead, saying he'll clear a dungeon in the meantime. Reno leaves, clearly upset, while the skeleton and the branch manager discuss the goblin dungeon, hinting that it might be connected to the Necron Society. In a different part of the story, a hooded man runs through a forest at night, dodging a salvo of crossbow bolts as his pursuers approach on horseback. He's exhausted and falls to his knees, but he gets up again, begging someone to wait for him to come to the rescue. Back at the TNMT regional branch, Slime informs No Name that those entering the Goblin Dungeon bear a neck tattoo. He's been finding monsters from the Necron Society who have taken over dungeons. The branch manager also tells the skeleton that the dungeon is also a mine containing bloodstones, rare stones used for magic. Some of these stones will be included in their compensation. He mentions that the reward for this quest will be much higher than before, but it might also be dangerous, and it requires clearing the dungeon. No Name accepts the quest. Sometime later, No Name finds himself standing in the middle of a forest, looking at a map. He realizes he's lost, and his thoughts are interrupted by nearby howls. He follows the howls and discovers a white pup trapped in a bear trap. No Name examines the wounded animal and frees it before continuing on his path. But as he tries to move forward, the dog stands guard in front of him, barking furiously. No Name doesn't understand why the pup is behaving this way, and he tries to shoo it away. Suddenly, the ground caves in, and the skeleton falls in. He manages to stop his fall by thrusting his sword into the cave wall, just before he hit the metal, spike-lined bottom. Examining the pit, he sees an adult white wolf lying dead in the distance, impaled by the spikes, as the pup barks from above. The skeleton realizes that it must be his mother, and the pup was trying to warn him of the danger. Before we continue, let's take a moment to shout out at Nithina Kashal, G8111, who commented, "I want a part 2 on our only one who didn't regress video. Thanks for commenting." Despite having escaped death, he realizes that he cannot escape alone from the pit as the sun sets above. No Name remains in the pit with the white pup barking from above. Suddenly, voices are heard from above as some hunters attempt to catch the wolf pup. Analyzing his next move, the skeleton thinks about saving the wolf, but first decides to play dead. A bald man notices him and calls his comrades to leave the wolf and approach the pit, thinking of the money they might earn selling No Name's gear. The bald man tells his associate that their hands are already dirty since he fell down the pit and that he must go down and retrieve the armor. The latter has qualms about the situation and fears No Name might be alive and waiting to strike. So the bald man proceeds to set fire to the pit. No Name decides to continue playing dead and wait for the fire to consume itself, wondering if he could survive it. Suddenly a blue window pops up, stating that his flame resistance skill has activated, reducing heat damage while reducing his strength. Realizing he can endure this due to the skill acquired in the spider's vault, the skeleton lies still and waits for the fire to die out, upon which the associate descends on a ladder and pokes at No Name, still fearing he might be alive. Another blue window pops up, indicating that the pseudo-death skill has been created. From above the pit, the bald man angrily urges his associate to hurry up and get the armor, musing on heading to the pub when two soldiers approach from behind. One of them reminds the terrified man that he had been warned of the consequences of hunting there again. At the bottom of the pit, the scared associate finally removes No Name's helmet, and as he opens his eyes, he is deeply shocked at the sight of his skull. He screams in horror as the skeleton greets him and stands up. He is suddenly knocked to the ground as the bald man is tossed from above and lands atop him. No Name climbs the ladder as the soldiers are distracted searching for valuable loot. He then notices a snake tattoo on one of the soldiers' necks, identifying them as members of the Necron Society. The soldiers are preparing to depart when No Name greets them, causing the startled men to turn around and confront him. As they begin to realize he came from the pit, the skeleton tells the shocked men to guide him to the goblin's dungeon. This causes them to draw their weapons and ask for his purpose in heading there. No Name answers that he was requested to do some things in the dungeon and reaches for his sword in preparation to fight. The lead soldier suddenly notices his cape and asks if the skeleton is Lord Darrow, the new supervisor sent from the organization. He sheathes his blade in relief, stating that he was expected. No Name decides to play along and says that yes, he is the supervisor, prompting the lead soldier to bow and tell his subordinates to do the same. The soldier states that he had been informed that the supervisor would be wearing a red cape and apologizes for not recognizing him. No Name accepts the apology and tells them to lead him to the dungeon. As they head to the dungeon, the lead soldier explains the profitability of the mine to No Name, until his subordinate lets slip that the captain fools around with the goblins, much to his distress. Deciding that he might find out more by playing this role, the skeleton asks about any peculiarities about the work. The soldiers reply that there's a strange man the size of a kid snooping around who has managed to evade capture. He also remarks that the man seems to know things about the dungeon even they don't know, and knows its layout perfectly. The small man has managed in the past to free some slaves before they stopped him, and the soldiers suspect that there might be a spy. They finally reach the dungeon, and No Name looks down upon the massive mining operation underway. Enslaved goblins carry out hard labor under the watchful eye of whip-wielding overseers. One of the goblins collapses from exhaustion, dropping his load of minerals and causing the enraged overseer to whip him mercilessly. The overseer then orders cement to get rid of the badly beaten creature. No Name sees the enslaved goblins and recalls what his mistress told him about them. Goblins are a cowardly species that excel at reading lands and discovering materials, avoiding humans by hiding in the mountains. The most advanced goblins would become the main pillars for the 16 demon kings, and No Name heard that they despised humans with all their heart, which seems unsurprising as he passes a pile of dead goblins. He's pulled from his thoughts by the soldiers as they enter the dungeon, and a blue window pops up describing it. It tells him that it is a large-scale dungeon with a base level of 10 to 20 that would require 15 to 20 people to clear. As No Name thinks on the information, the strange man trails the group from a distance deeper into the dungeon. The lead soldier introduces No Name as the new supervisor to his captain. The captain greets the skeleton and informs him of the progress of the mining operation. He also asks him to put in a good word for them to the higher-ups, and offers their services for the duration of his stay. No Name compliments their work and inwardly analyzes the best course to fulfill the request to kill everyone in the dungeon, until the captain suggests that he take off his helmet. No Name, fearing discovery, is stunned. Realizing he must make something up quickly, No Name excuses himself, stating that he can't remove the helmet due to a treatment for recent burns. Upon a request for identification, he states that he left it at home. The skeleton starts to believe that his luck is up until the captain laughs it off. But then, the captain requests to see the snake tattoo that would prove his allegiance to the Necron Society. The captain then realizes he is not the supervisor, and as No Name reaches for his blade, he signals his men to aim their crossbows at the intruder, promising to torture him for further information. No Name analyzes the situation, and heavily outnumbered and bereft of any other choice, activates his speed skill and lunges into combat. No Name cuts through the soldiers as the frantic captain orders them to fire their crossbows. The officers' joy at them hitting their target proves to be short-lived as the skeleton continues to cut through his men at a high speed, unhindered, and finally strikes him down. A blue window pops up informing No Name that he has earned the reward of Conqueror of the Thorny Maze, which decreases the damage done by crossbow bolts by 40%. As he heals, the skeleton stares at the 3 remaining soldiers who fall to their knees, begging for their lives. After stating that he had no intention of killing them, he prizes an ID from the dead captain's corpse, and having procured identification, tells the soldiers to guide him to where the goblins are. On the way, the soldiers explain to the skeleton that there is a second group of 10 soldiers inside. As he notices the dead goblins lying around, they point out that it is the work of the second group. Soon enough, they arrive at a tunnel where the second group of soldiers is shooting crossbow bolts at a restrained goblin for fun. No Name identifies the creature as a hobgoblin, a species far more intelligent and stronger than ordinary goblins. Hobgoblins also possess healing abilities and are referred to as royal goblins. The other goblins cry out at the ongoing torture, prompting the group leader to silence them before noticing the approaching soldiers and No Name. What will happen next? Find out next time by staying tuned for our future recaps. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great recaps.